Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for inviting me to be part of your event today. Thank you, Rene, for this moderation, and my good friend, Donald Lim, for actually reaching out for inviting me to be part of this event. Hopefully, I can inspire you today, and I will actually share my screen so that I can start my presentation. Wait a second. Can you hear me okay? Can you hear my screen perfectly? So I was inspired by our first speaker on what's the future of, you know, of sustainability. What's the discussion about COP? What's the discussion about, the future, the next generation leaders? And I thought when I was preparing this presentation, I said that I need to focus on the 21st century agripreneurs as they are the key to sustainable food systems. Just to give you a little bit of background of myself, I started teaching the farmers when I was 12 years old. I happened to read a book when I was 11. The book says, if you are poor, 100% of your income goes to food, 70% goes to rice, and 30% goes to your ulam. And as an 11-year-old girl reading this book in a scholarship center, I was so fascinated because the book says but if you know how to plant vegetables around your house, you can basically save this 30%. And this 30% can be put to sending your children to school or have a roof in your head. And I grew up in a sugarcane farm in Negros Occidental in the Philippines, in Silay City, Negros Occidental, where a lot of these people working as tenants and peasants in sugarcane farms are going to sari-sari stores right after they receive their salary. And it was such a difficult situation. And so I went home, I brought my mom that book, and that was my first business pitch. I told my mom, I really want to have a bike for my birthday because I want to teach farmers in sari-sari stores instead of drinking, cuatro cantos or the time vino colafo or tuba. I will teach them how to grow vegetables from the book I read and from the scholarship center, which I was learning how to do gardening at 11 years old. And my mom's answer was a big yes. And she immediately said, I don't want you to be successful. I want you to be relevant. And for an 11-year-old girl, it was so vivid for me because I have a mother who really want me to be relevant to other people. Because for me, I think this is so important for young people right now who is not only going for professional career and building wealth, but a lot of young people, based on statistics, are really becoming more aware what they can contribute in mitigating climate change, what we can contribute socially. And I'm so lucky that for 23 years, I've been in this sector in the agriculture. And now during this pandemic, it is really a big chance to create big change. And I'm so happy that the Management Association of the Philippines is actually having this kind of conversation because this is relevant. This is very important. We are in great reset. It seems that someone just shut off the faucet in our kitchen and there's no water coming that we experienced last March of 2020. And this is actually a big reflection to all of us. As I was listening a while ago, um, this is actually what we have been doing since May of 2020. I so happened to receive a message from the UN, Antonio Guterres, to be part of the 60 global champions for food systems. And from ground zero, we designed these 5 action tracks, and right now we have 163 countries all over the world adopting this, sending their commitment. And what is more important here? Before we're always talking about agriculture, we're always talking about farming, but now it's not anymore. The pandemic actually challenge and is making history in shifting the paradigm of our food systems, that we're not only talking about the producers, we're not only talking about the consumers, we're really talking about connecting all of them. We're even talking about food as the as our connection to mother nature. So if you see these 5 action tracks, it's really about how do we produce more with less? How do we produce more that we keep our nature preserved? And how do we really tackle a lot of issues like how do we respect indigenous people? How do we focus on gender? And more importantly, since we're talking about the next generation, the youth, me myself included as a millennial, I think the youth, they don't own the future. They own the current, they own the present, and they own the now. And if there's an acknowledgement that the youth own the now, the present, and the current, it's the only way that they will take good care of the next generation. It's the only way that they will own the future. So I'll give you a little bit of, statistics here. This is actually our population in the Philippines right now. We're reaching 110 million population with 1.45% growth in 2015, and they're seeing it to be until 2030. And in 2030, we will be reaching 124 million of people. But look at this. This is our farmer. Our farmer in the Philippines has an average age of 57 years old. And because of this average age of 57 years old, they're poor, they're aging with very low educational attainment. And if you are feeding 110 million people, 100% of the population, and you are demanding it from a poor, aging, with very low educational attainment farmers, it means that your producers and your consumers are not having the right mathematics, are not connected very well. So this is now our problem in the Philippines, right? Our farmers are poor, so is the whole country. This is the only time that we really need to go back taking care of our farmers. I think this pandemic alone really made us realize that the most essential business is still food. And agribusiness is still the most essential business, sans crisis or in decent condition. So here's AGREA. We're really focusing on cultivation of human beings because in the agriculture sector for 23 years, I've been in this sector. It is always about cultivation of the measure is always about cultivation of crops, cultivation of land, how much hectareage we cultivated, how much yield we harvested. We really never ask ourselves and measure what happened to the lives of our farmers, what happened to the lives of our fishermen, what happened to the lives of the people in the supply chain. So in Agria, we are focusing on really, having this kind of agribusiness with a heart. I think this is such a bonus if you have a millennial CEO or a founder. It's because this is what I want to do. I want to be relevant, make doing good and doing well and making it bigger, but more importantly, making it better. So we're really focusing on a one island economy model in the Philippines. It's because we have 7,000 plus islands in the Philippines, and it seems that every island has its own wonders. Every island has its own resources, but we really need to take care of that. As mentioned a while ago, we're so big in SDG. My company is focusing on 13 SDGs out of 17, but we're really streamlining it to zero waste, zero hunger, and zero insufficiency. So even our website, we partner with a Belgian company called Joomla Tools to design our website that is running with very little impact to our planet. It's running on sustainable energy. It can be opened in 2G, and it's not eating a lot of your cellular data. So what are we good at in our company? Um, when we started our company, it has been a conscious effort to really design our sustainability DNA. Design essence of Agria is really about designing as an expression of intent, designing all our programs and projects that how can we be sustainable in aspects of economics, social, but more importantly, how can we take care of our environment in the process? How can we do business that is transformational, not just transactional? How can we do business that is inclusive in social well-being? Right now, our company is working with 30,000 smallholders in the Philippines in different layers of interventions. We provide some financial aspects, some connection to the market, and right now we're really focusing on their educational program. And we're so big in circular economy. If you visit our farm, you're not allowed to burn any piece of waste from our farming operations. Everything are converted into organic fertilizer and plow it back to the soil. And we're really focusing on intergenerational well-being. And this topic of next generation is actually, this is it, intergenerational well-being. How do we make sure that we meet our needs right now in this current population, but we are not depriving the next generation to do so? And all of this design intent boils down to ecology of dignity, that dignifying both the producers and the consumers are only the best way to make it happen. So our company is known for regenerative agriculture. We're known for nutrient-dense agriculture, a climate-resilient farming approach, and circular economy. Case in point in this picture, we work a lot with coconut farmers in Marinduque. We have more than 60 hectares of coconut lands that we actually intercrop it with ginger and turmeric. And because our coconut farmers, every time there's typhoon, they're so affected. They lost their crops, they lost their coconuts. But if you layer their income and if you diversify it with other high value crops, in our case, ginger and turmeric, they can still survive. And on the side, every farmer that joins our company, they receive a biodiversity and nutritional care package. We give them diverse seeds of vegetables, poultry, and livestock unless they go through our farm school. Once they graduate in the AGREA farm school, that's the only time that they can also receive these kinds of benefits from us. So what do we do in our farm school? Most of the time, when we say that ang hirap mangarap, if you're working with a lot of farmers and fisher folks in the Philippines that they're so busy looking on what to eat for lunch, what to eat for dinner, and what to eat for the next meal alone, you don't have time to sit and dream. So in our farm school, in the first 3 days of our farm school, you are actually not allowed to learn how to grow seeds or how to cultivate the soil. You're just allowed to sit, review your life, and dream for nation building. It's because we want you to be part of how we grow the Philippines. We want you to know that every single farmer and fisher folk we are working is fundamental and critical in building this country. And in that sense, when they see that they are important, they're actually changing the game. So, for example, with Tatay Longhino here on my right, in the picture, with his champion cup, and Tatay Pilo, I met Tatay Pilo when he was 48 years old. No read, no write. And every after his work in our farm, I asked him to go to our office and learn his basic alphabet. And right now, he knows how to write his name. He has an SSS, he has PhilHealth, and he is a teacher in our farm school. He graduated with national certification from TESDA. Tatay Longhino on my right side, I met him when he was 78 years old. No one ever asked him how much money he needs per month to survive and to send his family or his children or his apo to school. Only then, when he met us, that's the only time that he said, Ma'am, negosyante pala ako kasi farmer ako. I'm a magsasaka. I'm a farmer. So, negosyante ako because I own my land and now I will take good care of my own business. So in our farm school, we really focus on a lot of young people and beautifully a lot of women in the process, because women and youth is actually a very big problem in the agriculture sector. So right now we are at 63% women enrollees or female enrollees in our farm school. If you see these stats, 0 to 35 years old are actually enrolling in increasing numbers at 55%. When we started our farm school in 2017, we could barely encourage a lot of young people to enroll. Right now, our farm school in Siargao and our farm school in Marinduque, we have a waiting list good for 3 months of enrollees. And I always believe that including and investing in our youth to go into agribusiness will make farming sexy, will make farming glamorous. It's because a lot of young people right now, they see agriculture as a hobby. They see agriculture as, if I retire, I go into farming. No. If we encourage a lot of young people that agriculture is a business, this is the most essential business, and this pandemic has made it happened and validated it. So we need to invest in a lot of young people to go into agri-tech, into farm tourism, into supply chain, into digital marketing of our farmers' product, so that they are aware that in the aspects of agriculture, it's not anymore farming alone, like the physical farming, but it's really about connecting the produce of the farmers to our market. So we even do programs with Marawi, Zamba Sulta, and Sulu Basilan, Atawi-Tawi, and Zamboanga for these young people who are taking ownership that they want to make peace in Mindanao. So we trained 120 of them in partnership with President Obama and the US Embassy since 2015. So I will share with you what we did during this pandemic and how we made it happen with the help of a lot of young people. If not because of young people, we couldn't save more than 191 metric tons of vegetables. We couldn't help 28,000 farmers. And we happen to also save produce from wastage. We become so creative. Instead of letting 12,000 kilos of tomatoes for rotting in farmers' fields in Nueva Vizcaya, we engage with a lot of chefs to process them into sauces, and pasta sauces and pizza sauces. So this entire work is really basically because of our work with a lot of young people across the supply chain, and a lot of young people who are artistic, who are very driven with digital and tech, and more importantly, who were allowed to go out during the pandemic. Because if we engage with our older farmers, they were not allowed to go out during the pandemic. So this is my last slide, and I'm so happy to receive questions. I want you to see, guys, that most things except agriculture can wait. And thank you so much. Always remember that farming is cool, smart, sexy, and humane. And this is the now, this is the present, and the youth will only own the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Sherry. Mayong buntag and daghang salamat in behalf of so many people that you've helped all over the country. Um, I've had the privilege of being among some really great men and women every now and then, giants in their fields, and I must say I am awed and feel so small to be beside you this morning. You are at such a young age, you've already achieved so much, making our farmers, our country, and even the world itself a bit better than what it was. After all, you started at 12 years old. I'm just so awed and amazed. I work for a group right now that just recently announced our net zero commitment, and it took us several months. And we acknowledge it's going to be a really, really, really hard effort to get to that. But you started with it. You started from day one. The when you started AGREA, it was already with a clear vision. While we are still trying to transform to get there, you started from that. And I really like your point about agriculture with a heart. I guess that start was the heart, right? I mean, where did it all start? Where did this whole sustainability, this whole everything that you said, which is so right. I was looking for a core, and I think I found it when you said it's agribusiness with a heart. What is that heart? First of all, it's an amazing heart. It's a very strong heart. It's a very energetic heart, young heart at that. No, but can you briefly describe that that thing that where all your passion came from? I've read your story. I heard your story, and as you said, no, at 11, 12 years old, but never mind the 12 years old. What happened 13, 14, 15, 16? It must have been a fantastic journey.
Sir Rene, when you grew up in a sugarcane field, my father was into sugarcane farming in Negros Occidental way back, but he died when I was 3 years old. So, and then agrarian reform happened. It's a long story. It's another call. But I think I grew up as a very observant child. I observe a lot in our society, and there was one point I was 6 years old. I asked my mom, "Why, when you cook, you all give it all away to people around us, and my job is to basically bring ulam during lunchtime to all our neighbors, And my mom said to me that, Cherry, the shortest distance in life, she got my hand and then she said, you measure this. The shortest distance in life is the distance between your brain and your heart. If you don't know how to connect that, forget about life, forget about your existence. But if you know how to connect that, you will definitely, grow and see things that you want to change around you. Of course, for 6 years old, what you learn is Chinese garter, right? What you learn is playing patentero and things like that. But I think it boils down to a family, that my family is very philanthropic, my family is very loving, and that heart is actually started from that. But at the end of the day, because I challenged my mom that I really want to help farmers. And when I graduated at 15 years old in high school, I happened to be the class valedictorian. So my mother said, you need to be a class valedictorian. You stop teaching farmers because it's been 3 years, so that you'll be a doctor and get a 100% full scholarship in La Salle Bacolod for biology. So to make my mom happy, okay, class valedictorian tayo. But then during my graduation, a truckload of farmers arrived with a sacco of sugarcane. No? They cut it and then they wrote uling. They said, congratulations, our teacher, Mom Cherry. There and there, I just cried. I did not finish my speech. And I said, I really want to be an agriculturist. And I sent myself to school. So I left home at 15. I got a scholarship because I was so serious. I went to Leyte. Imagine, around 16 years old, I was traveling from Bacolod, crossing Cebu, crossing Leyte to Leyte. I studied in Visayas State University. So this heart is not only about finding my passion, but I really found purpose and I made it a calling. And I said to myself, when I was traveling, Roro from Bacolod to San Carlos to Cebu and Cebu to Leyte, I said, is this right? Is this something that I really want my life to be? If this is something that I want my life to be, I need to educate myself. So I studied agriculture. I'm an agricultural scientist. And from there, I really dedicated my life into, if the advocacy is education, of course, I'll put a farm school. If advocacy is environment, then I need to put on food and climate change. So that's how this heart evolves. But bottom line, I think I'm so lucky it started from home.
Thank you very much. No, we were waiting for any questions. If there are any, any of the participants can post the question. However, we did promise Cherry that we will let her go at an appropriate time because she's such a popular speaker. But she has so many commitments, and she's got another commitment, and then in a few minutes, I wanted to go back to that point about consolidating everything. What you wonderfully did was, some people did sustainability, some people did education, some people did, but you seem to have uh, inubos mo lahat. You did everything. It was a complete circular package. Very quickly, how did that, was that predetermined, or as you went through everything, you saw there's a problem here, so let's address it, and that's how the circle was eventually completed.
I think the beauty is, Rene, because I always immerse myself on with the farmers, and of course, maybe exposure also globally. Um, when every time, like for example, if you're employed in Agrea, all our employees are actually asked to immerse in the farmers. We sleep in the farmer's house, wake up when the farmers are waking up, and of course, go through their day. So all the social aspects are actually coming from that. But because I also love educating myself, all this sustainability thing and everything, it happened to me when I was, I think, 24 years old. Before they're launching the Sustainability Development Goals, I was invited to be in the United Nations, to be part of the 15 youth all over the world to review from Millennium Development Goals commitment, shifting it to Sustainable Development Goals. And with the review, a review is how the youth is included in this. How the youth is, for example, youth of sustainable development goals for the youth. No, youth in sustainable development goals. So that's our assignment, to review it. How the youth is in the sustainable development goals, not as a recipient of sustainable development goals. And when I was reviewing that, of course, you need to read all the targets and everything. I was also learning because I said, I'm running an organization and I want all of this that I'm learning be present ahead in my organization. You know, when I think I don't ignore every learning I encounter along the way as such a bonus travel to New York. I always write it down, reflect on it, and go back. How can I put it in my work? How can I put it in my business? And actually, this is very important for a lot of young people. Hindi ako nakikiuso, you know, like there was one point that they said that, oh, you're millennial, you're a advocacy gypsy. Mamaya na sa environment ka, mamaya na sa education ka. I said, I have agriculture. Food is the nexus of economy, nexus of environment, nexus of our society, nexus of everything that we do. So if food is the nexus of everything that we do, and if food is the umbilical cord of people to Mother Earth, why not incorporate all of this in the process? So that's actually how everything evolved, Serene.
Thank you very much. We have one more question, but I know we're targeting. This is from Jose Francisco. We hear a lot of issues emerging during logistics, and so much food that is grown just doesn't make it onto our plates. What do you think is the biggest barrier in this area?
Thank you so much. I just actually gave a lecture in the European Chamber of Commerce about food loss and food waste, right? Especially during the pandemic. This is a big problem in terms of logistics, a big problem in our supply chain and our value chain. We don't have decent refrigeration system. We don't have decent cold storage system in the Philippines. But if you see this, these are also big opportunities for doing business, where we can provide cold chain to our cooperatives. It needs to be scale based, not like a big one, so that it has big buy-in to our co-ops, big buy-in to our local government units, and just investing alone on refrigerated trucks, knowing we have islands. When during the pandemic we were shifting goods from South Cotabato, Jensan, and Davao to Metro Manila. And Serene, it was shocking. I was computing our food loss during that time. We could reach 75% in that food loss. We could have saved them if we have enough refrigerated or cold storage in the process. We could have better our technology in this. We could have better our infrastructure in this. And most of this food loss in the process is actually because we don't have decent infrastructure. So these are challenges and problems. But if people here who are listening, this is also a good opportunity for business.
I just want to declare with you that it's coming out in the newspapers, but we're doing something along those lines. And yes, we are even studying solar powered refrigeration trucks primarily to address the issue of that. Anyway, we are running out of time. We promised Cherry we're going to release her at exactly 10:40, and it is 10:40. May I close by saying, in behalf of the very many ordinary Filipino people, you are such a wonderful blessing to us. The most apt description, and I've been reading about you since I got this assignment. And to me, the most apt description of Sherry Atiliano is a radical optimist, which we can now clearly see, a dreamer, which we can also see, and a true believer that the Filipino farmers are world class. That to me is a wonderful and apt description of you. And let me just personally express that with next generation leaders like you, oh my God, the future really looks good. The next generation looks promising. And I close with only one favor to ask. Please stop calling me sir. I should be calling you ma'am. Saludo po ako sa inyo. Mabuhay kayo, Ma'am Sherry Atiliano. Thank you very much for being with us this morning and giving time for our session. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Rene, for having me. Thank you, everyone in MAP, and have a great event. And hopefully, to all those listeners, please don't hesitate to contact me if you need anything in terms of agriculture and agribusiness. Maraming salamat po ulit at mabuhay kayong lahat.